Hey everyone, I just did a comedy TV workshop with Alan Hooper earlier this month, and I wanted to let you guys know here are my takeaways from that class. So Alan Hooper has cast shows like Modern Family, Up All Night, Frasier. He works out of Atlanta, but he came over to Salt Lake for 2 days, 2 different classes. He basically broke down everything you need to know on how to be successful auditioning for comedy TV spots, and it was a great class. And Alan did a really good job explaining what actors need to do to just really be present, wait for the beats, and have fun. I'll tell you all of my takeaways right here. Alan is really big on just making decisions. So he says, you're going to learn a lot by making mistakes just right here in class, and you're gonna actually learn more than the people watching you make your mistakes. So go ahead, make choices, make mistakes, because these are the takeaways you're gonna be able to help improve your auditions. So he talked a lot about wardrobe for auditioning, and he said, if we can assume that you have this outfit in your closet, then it would probably be a good idea to wear it for the audition. He said there was 3 specific outfits you have to have if you're going to audition for these specific roles: Santa Claus, clowns, and strippers. Everything else, they're just gonna say do the best you can, but if it's something that you have in your closet for that specific role, you should be wearing it. I've heard this one before, but he says in an in-person audition, don't shake hands. Even if it's part of the scene and you're reading with the scene partner, he said it's just weird. It just doesn't have the right feel, anything. It kind of just all falls apart. So that's a good takeaway. Don't shake hands. And this one also is for in-person auditions. Sometimes we get this. He said that they're very rare these days, maybe for the leads or whatnot, but really like 90 to 95%, they're all virtual, all on Zoom, self-tapes, any of that kind of stuff. But somebody asked about if the reader could stand up with the actor. He said casting doesn't stand up. They're gonna stay seated the whole time, so don't ask them to stand if you feel like that would help your audition. That's just his takeaway. He was really big on being connected and staying in the reality of the scene. He talked about looking right at your reader instead of like looking out in space or whatever. Be really connected to your reader. If you start in reality, you'll be able to stay in reality throughout the scene, and that's exactly what they want, is they want you to be connected, grounded, and be believable. He also mentioned if there's a chair, when you walk in, don't stand in front of the chair. Sometimes it's kind of weird. Are you gonna sit? Are you gonna stand? What are you gonna do? You may just need to move the chair. So anytime you come in for an audition, just go ahead and create your space. But he said, if there's a chair right behind you, they're kind of wondering if you're gonna sit and it's a little distracting. Don't stand right in front of the chair, but definitely you can sit down. He mentioned this I thought was really, really interesting. When you come in for an audition, you can hold your sides. In fact, I think it's great. It's almost expected. It just says, hey, I don't have this down 100%. It's not down perfect. He said, if they don't allow you to hold your sides, based on SAG and in the contracts, they owe you money. You should be able to hold your sides for your audition. And it's, again, I agree with Alan. I think it's so important just to have them there ready to go, because if something happens, you can just quickly look down and not have to be like, can somebody give me a line? Alan talked a lot about this book called Audition by Michael Shurtleff. He said this is one that you've got to go ahead and check out. I wrote it down on my list to go ahead and make sure I add it to my reading for my own personal study, but that might be one you want to check out too. I thought this was a good takeaway. He said if there's wording or phrases that aren't really sticking in your mind, repeat those like 5 times, the repetition of it. Sometimes you have to wrap your words or your mouth around those specific words, or sometimes there's a combination of words. He's like, repetition that multiple times so that you can just, when it's your turn to go up and deliver your scene, you've just got it already down. So not just kind of understanding the scene and all that kind of stuff, there might be certain parts that need a little extra repetition to allow your mouth, your tongue, all that to just hit it. He talked a lot about TV, single camera, sitcom. He said you need to be word perfect, 100%, no ad-libbing. He says there's a rhythm to it that they really need you to follow, so stick to that. He said you really need to make it your own within the script, and sometimes that's really hard for me because I do love to ad-lib. I think it's fun to add in your own little tidbits, but he said on this kind of platform, TV, single cam, sitcom, don't ad-lib. One thing I thought was really fascinating, there was a lot of people that were leaning in their chairs as they were doing the scene. He said, I want you to sit back in the chair, or if you can lean against a wall or something too, if you're against a wall. But there's a feeling of being like connected, relaxed, connected. All acting comes from your gut. and you need to feel relaxed and connected to really make the scene play out. So if that's a possibility, if you're sitting in a chair, lean back, be a little bit more relaxed. When it comes to really understanding a scene, he said, you really need to know why you're saying this, not exactly what you're saying it. Understanding the why can help you feel more grounded, relaxed, and centered in the scene. So I think it's a lot of fun when you do workshops or audition classes or anything like that, or teaching, go ahead and make mistakes. And so I had a chance where I was supposed to stand on a ladder, and I grabbed a chair, I started to step onto it, and he was like, no, don't do that. He says, sometimes if you're gonna step up on a chair, we don't know if the chair is gonna hold or if you're gonna fall. Anyhow, it was just a learning experience for me. If you have something and you're kind of going up, you can kind of go act like you're going up on it or coming down, but don't actually stand on a chair. Casting gets a little worried and they're like, this is gonna break. We talked a lot about gesturing. He said, guess what? They gesture in theater, we don't do that in film. Let the dialogue tell what's happening, but you don't need to necessarily say, hey, everybody look over there and gesture that. We don't necessarily do that in real life all the time. We can all see what's happening. We don't need to actually point or gesture. Hold back the gesturing for film, but you can definitely do it in theater. We talked specifically about 3 things. Do you like the German 3 I'm doing? That will help in your comedy: pace, timing, and reaction. So when it comes to pace, if it's faster paced, there's usually lesser meaning, where if it's slower paced, it's usually a stronger meaning. So I did ask him a little bit more about improv, and he says if it's TV comedy and you're right for the role, there might be a little bit smidge room for a little bit of improv, but again, it's a little risky, so you can make the discretion on your own. His recommendation is he wouldn't risk it on doing improv, but if you're right for the role, you might be able to slip by a little bit. I think improv is fun. I think it's a good way to kind of differentiate yourself as well, but it's kind of risky for some of these ones, so tread that water carefully. So we were talking about body movements and seeing what they represent in a scene, and the tilt of a head represents some uncertainty, and it played super, super well. So be creative, be grounded, be in the scene, see what plays, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. So those are my takeaways in Alan Hooper's class for TV commercial auditioning. Go ahead, have fun. If you've got some good takeaways, if you've been in his class or you tried some of these things or any of that kind of stuff, leave some notes. I would love to know. I'm gonna implement these in my personal auditions. I think comedy is one of the best things we can ever do. Have those auditions. They're super fun, super creative. And that are my takeaways from Alan Hooper's comedy TV class.